Welcome to episode 20 of the Chi-Town Shoot Wrestling Podcast. I'm Marcin, and joining me in the squared circle today are Chris and David. We're coming at you from the heart of the wrestling world, Chicago, Illinois, bringing you the latest news, hottest takes, and all things WWE and AEW. Don't forget, we want to hear from you. Send us your thoughts, questions, and wildest predictions to chitownshootpodcast at gmail.com, and we'll tackle your comments in the Chi-Town Shoot mailbag. Without further ado, let's get into it. How is everybody doing? Chris, you went to a concert this past week. Is that right?
Ooh. Yeah, just yesterday, actually.
Dang.
Joliet.
How did that go?
Bumfuck nowhere. Have you guys been to Joliet? I mean,
Wait, you went to the Forge. It's not like there's nothing there. It's actually kind of a pretty downtown.
It's kind of a nothing, whatever. It's like a little town. It's got some.
Apologize to people who are listening from Joliet.
What's the word? Podunk.
A podunk.
Podunk ass town. It was but the Forge is a cool venue. It's nice acoustics. It's not like huge, which I like. I like that kind of like smaller venue, and all the bands sounded good. Even the opener, that was good. Whoever was the house mix person, or maybe they had their own person. Here's to you.
I was gonna say, because when I was there, I think that might have been the last time I was there. I think it was when it was Amaranth, and they also had like they had like some kind of like California band or something or whatever, and like anytime she had like a high note or he had a high note, like that was like, it was like pitched, like screaming, like like a high pitched, just like
distortion,
in your like your ears are bleeding when you hear them hit those high notes. So I'm assuming it was the fault of like the audio people or something, because
the level was just off.
That wasn't my experience at the Forge. I was like, damn, I should have brought my earplugs that time. Although anyone who is a concert goer, you probably should be doing that anyway. You don't want to be deaf.
I didn't wear my earplugs because it was like it was so comfortably loud where it didn't like hurt my ears. So like when I woke up today, it wasn't like painful. Like that's why I like the Forge. Like it's definitely loud, but it's not like overpowering, like heavy bass and like heavy treble, just disgusting distortion kind of thing. But I think that really comes down to the mix in the mixer as it's coming out into the PA.
Yeah, I mean, and also I think the venue and the speaker systems also add to it. But I think the mixing is a big thing. I think I do want to, like, in the future actually invest in like not just like throwaway earplugs that you get at like Walgreens, but like really good like those reusable ones that are probably like $100 or $200.
I got those. I got the ear. Well, they are, as long as you can take care of them. But if you're mosh pitting, I just like one went boom, and that was it. I only had.
I don't plan on it.
They sell some decent reusable ones that are like $50, you know, because the more expensive ones are like molded to your ear. You still get like a good reusable one that you know.
I'm trying to think, like, is there one like where it could still sound like I can hear it clearly without like having that muffled
eargasm?
Like
I had eargasm plugs and they're good, but like again, like I
forgot the brand that I have.
Got bumped into, boop, and it was gone. And I had one, so I was like, whatever. I'll just fucking buy the disposable ones. If I need.
And do you like squeeze them in to put them in? Because like, how do they fly out of your ear? Shouldn't they be snug in your ear?
I mean, it's like they feel like an in-ear headphone. Like that's the way it kind of feels, like the silicone-y thing.
Nice. Well, I'll look into it. What about you, David? What have you been doing this past week? Trying to think about it. Nada.
Jack. Shit,
I'm gonna ask you every single time.
We watched.
We collided.
Yeah, see, there you go. And what did you guys think of Collision?
Oh, that's a good segment.
Collision was cool.
We played a little Tekken, prepping ourselves a little bit.
Did you like the Well, I mean, I guess it was the same night for the people who were there, but did you like the Grand Slam collision versus, or better than the Dynamite collision?
I feel like any AEW recording gets watered down because the crowd can't maintain hype. And a lot of people leave.
After, right?
It was recorded after Dynamite and Rampage, so yeah, you're fucking 7 hours. 7 hours on a Wednesday.
Yeah, that's a marathon, and most people probably got off work, so they just
at least they got a pay-per-view quality like length of time.
Yeah, you get your money's worth, that's for sure. But it's a Wednesday night, and then like you said, the energy isn't there. I mean, I don't know if you could even tell like if people left by like if there was a chunk of people who left because they were like, oh, this is too long, but I think it was still, like, from what I saw, it was still a pretty good show. I'm looking forward to Moxley versus Danielson. I think that's in 2 weeks as of this recording. Yeah. So that should be good. And Bad Blood obviously is coming up
this weekend.
As of this recording.
Oh yeah, that's also what I did. I was playing some Tekken until I messed up my own computer, but we're not going to get into the computer.
Yeah, see, there you go, and that's another thing. You're planning on being in a tournament, right?
Yeah. So I be saying nothing all the time, and it's so funny because like after we get off, I'm just like, oh wait, I did that. Oh yeah, I did that.
Sometimes it's hard when you get put on the spot, but yeah, I mean, you, who are you? What games are you training for? Which ones did you sign up for?
Just Tekken 8 using King.
Nice. See that's your tried and true.
Some wrestling.
That's awesome. And yeah, you are you doing it that entire weekend? Are you being there that entire weekend, or are you just going for?
I'll be there the whole weekend. I decided to take a staycation.
Nice.
I'm thinking about it.
So I'm staying at the hotel.
Hey, do it.
And staying at the hotel, get there Friday, play Saturday. And then it's like buy a lot of food out there in Glenview, so we are good. You're coming, right?
I'm not, but Chris is thinking of it.
No, I
am. Watch Bad Blood?
I'm probably going to watch it in my house. I mean, what is it? What is it going to look like? Like, you're in a hotel. Aren't they going to be like don't you have to like pay to get in to get to your hotel? Isn't that how that works? Or does that kind of?
No, you pay to get into the venue. The venue's like in different rooms.
Oh, is it a hotel that's attached to it? Kind of like Combo Breaker?
Correct.
Okay. All right. We'll see. I don't know what I'm doing Saturday night.
Maybe I'm not even down the street.
Is there?
Yeah.
Are you serious?
That's serendipitous right there.
We got a Pequod's in Morton Grove.
Game over. That's the only thing we need.
Is that the original you said? Isn't that the original?
That's allegedly a story that I don't really know anything on.
Could not be true.
I don't want the Pequod police fucking coming after me.
Could or could not be true. I mean, they're both Pequods, right? So it's not like you're talking crap about it. But yeah, that's a good pizza joint, and I did share out a meme, and I think they did retweet it. So I thought that was nice.
Shout out to Pequods. We'll see you soon.
Yeah, let's get that Pequods. Oh, we also.
Yeah.
Well, this is kind of a segue. Were you about to get into the next thing?
No, I was just going to say that I'm going to NXT, and I actually got Patrick to go with me, too, so he's going to go to his first wrestling show.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
So that's going to be interesting. I told him, like, he doesn't have to go, but he said he just wants to see, like, why I enjoy it. So, like, I'm like, well, I think this is a pretty good show to, see, like, the crowd. It's at the Allstate.
It's a first time.
It's their debut show on the CW, so you know that there's going to be some surprise there. I'm sure. I mean, you got already seen
on the road. I don't think they've done on the road.
Yeah,
weekly.
They got St. Louis next or the week after, right?
Yeah, it's
like back to back. That should be fun. I'm glad that they're increasing their presence. I mean, they've done like PLEs in other cities, or they attach their PLE to like a bigger WWE PLE, like WrestleMania or whatever. But that should be interesting. And I think they're good. I do think they're going to get bigger exposure on the CW purely because it's like actual legit free TV. Like you could just have an antenna pop on, Channel 9 or whatever it is in Illinois and, watch it. And SmackDown had a big viewership because of that. And you could see on USA that it kind of dropped a bit because not everyone has that cable package, So should be interesting.
TV 14.
Is it going to be TV 14?
That's what they say.
That'll be interesting. I'm looking forward to that. I mean, obviously, when we publish this is going to be after the fact, but I'm looking forward to the Julia and Roxanne match. That should be interesting.
Right.
And probably Stephanie Vaquer is going to be there because she already interrupted them last week at their signing.
And you get to see Ethan Page and Trick.
Oh, yeah, yep. CM Punk, special ref. He was saying that he was going to wear something more ridiculous than Seth Rollins' referee outfit at WrestleMania. So that should be interesting. I hope Shawn Michaels pops out too, just to like debut the new era, because that'd be cool to see him again.
You better be wearing a Borat mankini, but just like striped. You know what I'm saying?
Like the Chicago flag stuff. Colors, that'd be hilarious. But yeah, like they had level 101 tickets for like $30, and I was like, ooh, that's pretty good. So yeah, we'll see. And I'll report back on what Patrick thinks. That should be good. But yeah, we're on the WWE train. We can now kind of segue into, I think, a thing that we also all kind of watched this past week as well, and that's the Mr. McMahon documentary that was published on Netflix a couple of weeks ago. And
we fell asleep to it.
You did?
Well, I already watched it, but we had it on Saturday.
I was going to say, let me ask your opinion, but if you fell asleep to it...
watched it all.
I watched it at work. I mean...
Yeah, you had it on the background, It's like... Yeah, when you're like, if you're doing work and that kind of stuff, you're doing like, if you're working out, or even if you're like, folding things or moving things. I mean, I don't think that's a big deal if you're like listening to stuff, because what else if not that, right? Silence. I don't know, talking to your coworkers. But yeah, they were 6 episodes, I think. 6, and it basically showed the story. It basically felt like almost like a WWE documentary. I mean, Vince is WWE, but it felt like there was a lot of like that kind of stuff, and I was kind of hoping for a deeper dive into Vince McMahon's psyche, and there were some interesting nuggets that they did leave in the documentary, like the conversation that he talks about how he feels like he has like 3 brains when he's speaking to somebody, and this one part of his brain is saying this, and like he's essentially admitting that what he's saying isn't necessarily true to like someone who's like being interviewed, because his real feelings and thoughts are in this other brain that he talked about. And I think the 3rd brain, he said, was dealing with more bourbon stuff, which I was like, wow, that's amazing that he said that on camera. So let's start. What did you get? What takeaways did you get from this documentary? We'll start with you, Chris. What did you think? Initial thoughts when you finished it?
He is an important figure, but ultimately is going to be remembered as a pretty despicable human being for the most part. That makes sense. I mean, I would agree with that. The lasting impression, I think, is going to be what's perspired in the last year, but Well, I think it's both, because you're still gonna associate WWE with a McMahon, so Vince McMahon, and creating all these specific things and the success that it has seen. I don't think there's denial there, but I think ultimately, because they get asked the question, what do you think his legacy is going to be, and everybody literally struggled to say something. Maybe that was purposeful editing, but everybody was like, "Oh, that's a good question."
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, tragic figure. I'd be comfortable saying kind of a monster, because he was very he didn't want to take any responsibility for anything. He would always kind of treat it like this, like, oh, well, that was the Mr. McMahon character, and I think that was just a easy cop out for, especially in like pro wrestling. It's like, oh, that wasn't me. That was, Vince McMahon. Oh, Hulk Hogan doesn't have a, or Terry, what's his name?
Bollea. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't have a 10-inch dick. Hulk Hogan has a 10-inch dick, or whatever. It's this kind of like easy kind of thing, especially if they're kind of like scummy characters. Kind of blame it on the character. So,
and you're right with that, because like there was a lot of, I don't know if what he's doing is compartmentalizing what he like. Well, I mean, we talked about those three brains, but like I don't know if there's like an issue with like memory, because he is much older and maybe he just forgets certain things when he's like, oh no, I don't think I'm this kind of person. And then in like they edited it together where you had like a whole bunch of people when they were asking like, how close is Vince to the Mr. McMahon character, and Vince said that he's not that close. And then you basically had a series of like 6 or 7 of the people who were interviewed, and they were like, yeah, pretty close, including Bruce Pritchard, who was like defending him, and who was one of the only people who followed up in the last episode with a follow-up interview, and he was sticking up for Vince and calling it like a hit piece, and the way that they edited made him look bad. I can argue and say those were his words. Technically, I don't think they took it necessarily out of context, because some of the stuff that he said, including like basically admitting about like that special issue with the special referee with like the I'm trying to not use the words here, but schmexual stuff. He basically said, I don't think it was this, but if it was, the statute of limitations are gone, so it doesn't matter. So he's kind of like saying like, oh well, maybe if like I don't personally think that that's what it is. But if it was, the statute of limitations basically say that it doesn't matter. So I was surprised that he said that on camera. But I think, again, that kind of goes back to like his brain and just how it's wired and what he thinks is normal and not normal. For quote unquote normal for like a majority of people in society, what they think is right and not right, for lack of a better description, and trying to avoid demonetization. So that was interesting. And yeah, like I said, there was a lot of like, he thinks this and then everyone else views it this way, including his kids, by the way. Like both Stephanie and Shane said that his character isn't that far off from him. And that's your own kid saying that. So that's kind of indictment of like where your brain is and how you perceive yourself versus like how everyone else perceives you. And he also said, I mean, perception is reality, and that's very true. But I think it's interesting that he doesn't truly believe that's who he is, regardless of what everybody thinks. But David, what did you think of the documentary? Like your initial takeaways from those 6 episodes? Did you get anything new out of it? What did you think?
Like I kind of knew like how he treated the territories and like poaching them, like everybody. But like kind of made me go like, oh wow, like WCW was really just like what goes around comes around, type moment.
I mean, and then
and then Eric Bischoff put a really good point where he had mentioned like, oh, like you ever noticed that like Vince wouldn't acknowledge that he was going against me? It was always he was against the billionaire and blah blah blah. And it's like, oh damn.
Makes good points. I mean, and also like again, like Vince also, it's like it's in the same documentary. I think it might have been a different episode, but talking about how he was taking all these wrestlers from their territories and taking their business away, and then he said it's America and all that kind of stuff and freedom and all that stuff, and then when it comes to the Monday Night Wars, then he basically said like if he felt this was unfair that they were doing this and all that kind of stuff, even though like an episode before he's like, hey, it's America, buddy, land of the free. And like, and I don't know if he like truly doesn't believe how hypocritical that looks.
There's no
do you think he's that delusional?
No, I think it's just it's like the politician shit. Like you're talking out of both sides of your mouth. It's like good for me, not for thee. That kind of.
Yeah, but you're being recorded. This is your own documentary, so like, wouldn't you remember what you just said like an episode before? Because at least with politicians, they'll be artful with it. But he literally like said this beforehand. Like, there's not you can't slice it any other way. That's what he said. And they were recording for like 6-ish hours a day and stuff. Maybe he just forgets. I mean, like I said, he's in his like late 70s now. He's almost 80. So maybe there's, some mental decline. I don't know. I can't speak for him, but yeah, I just found those kinds of things fascinating. But David, yeah, before I kind of like expanded on that stuff, did you have any other thoughts on Vinnie Mac or the documentary in general?
I wanted to hear the business, and then kind of just like everything else, I was like, yeah, we're not going to get anything out of like it within the first 3 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Like he kind of gave away that he's not answering anything. It was funny to watch him get out of line with Bob Costas.
Oh yeah, I forgot about those interviews. I mean, I remember watching them, but then just seeing them kind of in context with this stuff, I didn't. I mean, who was the other guy with like who basically has some kind of axe to grind? I think he was the one who got like smacked in the face.
Yeah, I forgot that guy's name, but
but you know what I'm talking about. He was like the journalist who was basically like he consistently reported on WWE and Vince McMahon, and he basically doesn't like wrestling, doesn't like Vince. I mean, I understand his employees attacked you and stuff, but I also think there's a degree of you're not being completely unbiased because you do have an axe to grind when you're reporting this stuff. So there's an extra level of stank to your reporting, I think, when he's doing it. I mean, he was right about the Vince stuff and the steroid stuff. But yeah, that the Bob Costas thing, that was interesting. Like he had a number of those kinds of interviews where like he just can't maintain his composure when it comes to like yeah, exactly. Like he like that's wild, man. And like he did on more than one occasion. He did it during the Benoit stuff. He did it during the Bob Costas stuff was XFL, right? Or was that Benoit?
It was XFL.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was during that
was the worst piece of television I've ever seen, and then he just figured it.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, he does not have any composure when it comes to that. I mean, we know about his history. I mean, I guess he makes a lot of references, and not everything was very direct. That Playboy interview he talks about, being potentially abused by his mother, and I think the stepdad, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. I mean, just really, really terrible situation for him as a kid. I mean, I personally don't think that excuses his behavior. You can kind of understand like how he became a person like that. And I mean, talk about like when you talk about like psychological stuff, and sometimes people are like, oh, well, you can't necessarily like pin it to something very specific. But for him and his family, it really feels like there is that common thread of getting your approval from your father or your mother, and like that was a consistent issue that you kind of see in himself and also when they brought up the Shane McMahon stuff.
Yeah.
It felt like that to me was the most interesting stuff, because I felt like a lot of it, if you were like a hardcore wrestling fan, or you've been like seeing these kinds of documentaries for like, let's say decades at this point, because I mean that's basically true, you don't learn too much new stuff in this documentary. A lot of it just kind of felt like a retelling of stuff with some interesting nuggets. But the Shane stuff I thought was interesting because they haven't like really addressed it that well before. I didn't think, like, I didn't know about the UFC stuff. Him trying to, it seemed like he tried to take WWE from Vince in like that, was it 2021 when Vince basically fired him? Like they had that whole fallout. So, I mean, very interesting stuff. And Paul Heyman made a really, I think, insightful commentary, and it stuck to him because he was talking about there was some kind of disagreement in the room, I think, about like some storyline decision or something, and then he basically tells his son, you know, like, if you want to take it, you know, he like opens his vest or whatever, and then he points to his heart and he says like to take like the knife or whatever, and he's like, come on, do it, go over here, do it, like in front of like the staff, because I mean Paul Heyman remembers this. So definitely really interesting dynamic, I think, with him. And Stephanie, you kind of get the sense that, I don't know, some say that she's kind of like her father in terms of like the business side. I don't know about being completely ruthless, because people do like Stephanie, and she's not Vince from that perspective, like the kind of
control freak,
iron fist control freak kind of thing, because there truly did seem like there was this kind of like energy, this heavy weight that got lifted up when he left WWE. Like it was palpable, like for the audience, I think, and you can see it in the production and the way commentators Michael Cole was like the canary in the coal mine. Like he is like the like, what is the current mood of WWE? Just look at what Michael Cole's face is, you know, during shows then and now. If you do a comparison, like he's enjoying himself right now, and there's no way that he would be able to do some of the things he says on commentators at the commentator's desk now. Like most recently, he was really enjoying himself talking about throwing Chelsea Green into a dumpster, and he was very excited about that. But
what was just off of that, what was his direction under McMahon? Was he just supposed to be a bit more?
Well, with commentators under Vince, everything is parroted by Vince. He is in your ear. He's yelling at you what to do. If you forget like either how much they weigh, or if you forget to like include a specific part of maybe some kind of promo or something that you have to like sell for like the pay-per-view or whatever, if you say it wrong, if there's a wrong word choice, he's yelling in your ear while you're trying to call the match. So just imagine that, you know, like 365 days in the year. Well, I guess it's weekly, so less than that. But every week, you basically are doing broadcasting, and there's this guy yelling in your ear, and he's literally controlling almost every word that you say, or at least how you frame it, and things you have to mention when you're talking. Like, there's a lot of right now. I feel like Triple H lets Michael Cole just kind of like they have the bullet points, but it's not the end of the world if, you know, you miss something, or, you know, they give them more freedom to just like talk about stuff, you know, being more, I don't know, like a regular person, you know.
I think
there's a big difference.
There's one word that kind of sums up Vince McMahon, and I think it's projection. I think like based on just his general experiences, like everything is just like him kind of projecting. Like, let's say when he was a commentator, they said he was like pretty bad at being a commentator. And I think he takes a lot of that stuff to heart, and then it just becomes this kind of like his way of like kind of coping with those specific things. So yeah, like yelling at these current commentators to do a better job or whatever.
Yep. So. I mean, yeah, and I also felt bad for Linda. I mean, she was only there for like maybe an interview or two, but I mean, he like even Vince kind of like admit like they mentioned the Playboy interview again and like how he likes the ladies and that kind of stuff, and Vince made like some kind of like offhand comment in the interview. He's like, "Well, I promised Linda that our marriage would always be interesting," or something like that. So,
yeah,
but you could like it obviously didn't go both ways because I don't think Linda was doing this kind of stuff that Vince was doing. I mean, maybe she did eventually when she knew. I mean, they're divorced now, aren't they? So, but yeah. Interesting character. Like I said, I will say that the most interesting stuff was the Shane McMahon stuff because those were the instances. Like literally that Hell in a Cell versus the Undertaker. He felt like he was doing that just to get some kind of approval from your dad. If you're going to the lengths of going up a Hell in a Cell to fall off like 20 30 feet or whatever it was onto a table just to get like a half
and whiff
ass hug from your dad. I mean, but like you could tell like when they showed that clip of him hugging, he was emotional. So it's like not like Vince doesn't want it, but I think there's this kind of he doesn't want to break the cycle. You know what I mean? Like he's like, I didn't get it from my dad, and then he just kind of gets that kind of same, thing to his kids, which isn't great. And again, that like Shane clearly, even now when they were interviewing, like he got emotional when he was talking about this stuff, but like it's still clearly like a very sore subject or something that's very pertinent, I think, in their relationship, like their inner relationships between each other. So I mean, that's probably why he went out, tried to do his own business, with the Chinese and all that kind of stuff.
Now with AEW, baby.
Yeah, maybe that's the other thing. Like that when I saw this, I'm like, is this why you're doing something in AEW? Because you're trying to like, be your own man to some degree, and try to have us build your own successful wrestling company. So that'll be interesting. We'll see where that goes. Maybe we'll do a follow up on Shane McMahon and his psyche when we see that. Oh yeah, he now owns AEW in like a simulcast in Florida or something. Any final thoughts on the documentary before we jump into celebrities in wrestling?
Pat Patterson.
Oh yeah. I forgot about that. Man, that was another one that was like with Tony Atlas.
With his,
he's like he was in the locker room, just walked up and touched his pecker or whatever he said. And then he's like, "Oh, why don't you go to Vince?" And he just laughed it off. He's like, "You can't like he's not."
You want a job?
Yeah, exactly. You want a job? Like literally, like that was the most like insightful thing. And I think when it comes to like the why the wrestling culture was like it was then, because there were so many things that you're worried about more than dealing with something like that. You want your paycheck, that if you do something wrong you will be ridiculed. Like I'm pretty sure that Ashley Massaro thing, when she was like upset about those specific issues, that they basically humiliated her on TV, I guess was one way of putting it. Even with like the Trish Stratus thing, she kind of mentioned that she wasn't necessarily sure that that's why she dropped the belt to Mickie James, but she didn't approve of the like the kissing and all that kind of stuff with Mickie James. And then she said basically she dropped the belt like a week later to her. And she says that's speculation, but she felt like maybe that has something to do with it. So that kind of culture of like, I don't want to lose my job, I want to keep my money. I mean, same thing like with like the injuries, the constant injuries. Like it all kind of goes back to that same mentality of like, I want to keep my job, I want to keep my spot, I don't want to get fired. So anything that happens, it's just you let it slide, you forget about it, and then you just move on, which sucks.
Crazy, because that was like the essentially the culture, the way that specific business ran for 40, however many years, 70 plus
40
years.
plus years.
Essentially, it was carny shit for a very long time. There was no
carny code.
There was no medical protocols. Like if you were injured or you're on your own, there wasn't any kind of like
walk it off, buddy. Take some coffee and some ibuprofen.
Get addicted to oxycodone, baby. Like drug addiction, is crazy stuff. So I mean, I'm glad that WWE has some kind of a internal system. I think for like medical stuff. I think now, and their protocols have been a lot better. Post Benoit CT. That was another thing that kind of was the it's part of the business, brother. The chair should like open head chair shots. And
let's talk about that for a second, because I totally forgot about that specific segment with like the concussion stuff. Steve Austin said something very I was like, okay,
that shit ain't real. It ain't real.
You didn't believe that it's real. So that was interesting. I love Steve, but what he said there was, I thought, pretty stupid. And the Undertaker thing, what Vince said when they had didn't they have a whole documentary about the Undertaker, and then he took him to the hospital and all that kind of stuff. Vince said that he wasn't concussed, he was just traumatized that he just lost the streak.
Oh yeah, like he didn't remember.
He didn't believe that,
he didn't want to remember.
Yeah, he didn't want to remember. I just don't believe that. I don't think.
I guess it's possible, but I think it's more the latter. I think it's more like open head chair shots. But like, wasn't Undertaker kind of defending that though? It's like, it's a staple of our business. Blah blah.
Well,
blah.
He said he initially was because he was upset. I mean, but it's not like they were eliminating it. It's just like you're not like going like head first like into a chair. Like you got to put your hands up instead of blocking with your face.
I mean, just to think about Chris Benoit doing. I mean, did he always do that flying headbutt? Was that always his like thing?
He did it for a long time.
Yeah, pretty much. And dude, there's so many times in Benoit matches where you're just like.
Yeah, cringing, like folding, like
But on top of like the hardcore, like he's like head bumping as his finisher, and he's also doing chair shots to his head, like consistently. Like I don't care if those chairs are like aluminum or whatever, you're getting smacked in the head.
Scrambled eggs.
You're having scrambled eggs for dinner every single Monday night.
I just real quick, just from the concert yesterday, I was mosh pitting, and I just fucking. Accidentally I just headbutted this dude. I was like, oh, boom. And dude thought I knocked his teeth out, but pretty sure I got a bump right here.
Jeez.
I mean, I didn't see stars or nothing. I was good, but like I got a hard head.
No CT over here.
CT. No, just CT. A broken jaw.
No CT over here.
Well, maybe you should get a head scan, boy.
just need a beer.
It wasn't like a.
I just need to go to sleep. I just need to shut my eyes for a bit. Man, I remember when I was I think it was like 7th or 8th grade, we were doing football in Chopin Park, and I think it was it Joshua? That was a classmate, right? Joshua. Mm-hmm. So like we were playing flag football or whatever, and then I was like I was looking at the ball, but I wasn't looking at him coming, and he like ran into my jaw. Like if there was like that Mortal Kombat like X-ray thing, it went like and I was seeing stars. Like I didn't know where I was. Yeah, I literally thought like I broke my jaw or something, because it was like really hard. So yeah, I don't know how like the wrestlers do that kind of stuff on a consistent basis, especially when they were doing chair shots to the head, because that's just.
But I mean, this is probably this is the hardest part of the head. But obviously, if you're like doing this every single day, let's say at least, I mean, however many times you're on the road, chair shot, headbutt, botched spot, like all this craziness.
Yeah. I mean, and I think, I mean, It's I think someone also made this point in the documentary. I mean, like there's a lot of football people who have CTE, but it's not like they go out to commit, acts of violence on their family. So I don't know. Like I feel like I think his brain was very bad, so maybe that was why it led to that. But I don't know. I mean, like you got to be in some kind of headspace too, I think.
He was on steroids
and severely depressed.
That's true.
Combination. I mean, it was a cocktail of stuff. I mean, he might have been taking antidepressants and drug cocktails that were just like altering his.
Have you ever watched his Dark Side of the Ring?
I did, yeah, but I don't remember it because like I basically like binged them. But yeah, I did.
He basically, like, after Eddie Guerrero died, like a lot of nights on the road, he was like crying himself to sleep and shit.
Oh, you're right. I do remember that. I mean, yeah, they were talking about like he took it really hard, like that, like they felt like he lost, like it felt like someone lost like their brother or wife or spouse or whatever. Because I do remember them saying like it was that equivalent for him. So. Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine either. And then you're also doing all these other things. I mean, you probably have issues with your wife. You're on the road constantly and you do all those kinds of things. So I don't know.
And then like with Eddie, Eddie's like, other than, just that's like somebody he met in Japan. They worked together so much in Japan. They found their way to ECW.
Yeah.
Then they go to ECW together, have a couple matches, and then they're, off to WCW together. Yeah. And they say, we're out of here, and they go to WWE together. Had their Mania moment.
Right. I mean, their career was basically kind of going like this at a certain point. It sucks. They were both gone. But yeah, I mean, going back to the point of, the CTE and the concussion stuff, I like Vince. I mean, I'll give credit to Vince because clearly there was some sort of like, he went up, asked who, what was his name?
Chris Nowinski.
There you go, Nowinski. I was going to say Kowalski. Not Killer Kowalski. Nowinski, the other Polish guy. I think. Yeah, I mean, like this obviously was after the Benoit stuff, I think. So there was a little bit of like, we need to make us look good PR wise. But I think there was still some level of like, well, we have to figure this out because this obviously isn't good. So they brought him in and they educated people about it. And to his credit, I mean, he banned chair shots. But again, and then this wrestling match with Lesnar that happened in 2014, I think it was. So I mean, this is after they do all the CTE stuff. Like Vince saying that he didn't believe that he was concussed. I don't know why you'd say that. I mean, like The Undertaker. I don't think The Undertaker is that kind of person. Maybe because it is the streak. Maybe he could have been so traumatized by it, but I don't think so.
Well, it was a last minute. Wasn't it that decision was like literally that night, so he didn't even have to process it. So it's just like, oh, okay, I guess I'm not going over. So I can only imagine.
Taker watched that, and then he goes like, "Yeah, he did all that." On the phone.
I mean, Undertaker's
he's an informant.
Yeah, Undertaker's one of the biggest meat riders next to Richard, though.
Yes, but I feel like a lot of them haven't said too much after it all went down, did they? I feel like a lot of them were like, well, I guess John Cena also was like saying, we'll just see what happens. I mean, again, like I'll let this whole thing ride out. I think just like in this specific instance, I think there's a lot of stuff in his past that can lend oneself to believe that he does these kinds of things in the past occurrences. And just, I mean, he said stuff on camera too. So I'm like, man, you're not making yourself look good. And this was before all that stuff was made public. So we'll see. I'll let the feds figure that out. But yeah, very, I wish there was more into the inside of Vince instead of it feeling kind of like a wrestling WWE history retread. And like I said, there were some interesting nuggets here and there, like commentary about, like you said, Undertaker, Shane, and the early stuff about like his family and just his process of his brain. That I thought that was interesting. How he basically it's like a split personality almost, like you're compartmentalizing all your thoughts in these three separate things. So, but yeah, speaking of Vince in the mid 2000s, they were having a lot of issues with the ratings, and there was an attempt to increase ratings by introducing celebrities, guest hosts, people to bump up the ratings. But that isn't the only time that they've done it, right? Like celebrities in wrestling has been kind of married together since, I mean, I'll say the 80s. I'm sure there was stuff before that, but the biggest like example of it is WWE implementing that Rock and Wrestling connection with Cyndi Lauper, Mr. T. I mean, they were a big part of wrestling history, and where I don't think wrestling would be where it is now if it wasn't for that involvement of that MTV era. But I wanted to dedicate this next segment to talking about celebrities in wrestling in general. And when I say the parameters for this is, I'm talking about like pop culture celebrities, people appearing in professional wrestling, not like being outside of it. Not so we're not going to talk about like Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill in like Family Feud, or appearing on The Weakest Link, or appearing in movies. I'm talking about strictly like the Cyndi Lauper, in a wrestling ring, or someone making a guest appearance on a referee or whatever. That's the parameter that I want to stick to for this specific segment. But I want to go around the room. I want you guys to tell me what you think about the involvement of celebrities in wrestling. Like, do you feel like it's a good thing, a bad thing, or what? Just give me your thought about. I don't want to pigeonhole you in it, but like, David, what do you think about celebrities in wrestling in general?
I love it. In this, when it's a celebrity that wants to be there.
Mm-hmm.
When they don't, it shows terribly.
Yeah. Is there one that sticks out in your mind that you feel like was terrible?
I feel like that, like a lot of the hosts, like the guest hosts that they did from like 2011 to like 2015 ish.
Mm-hmm.
Like all those Raw hosts, I don't remember too many. And then like the only one that I can remember like off top is Hugh Jackman, and that was only because Sandow dressed as Magneto.
Was that during his like he was like the stunt double for Miz?
That was right before that. So like before that he was just coming out every week as like a parody of something or doing and things like that. And when Hugh Jackman was the host, he came out as Magneto.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I mean the guest host thing. I mean, I don't like that was. I mean, it was a blur and it wasn't a blur, because I do remember it vividly, because it was like, I think it was like 2009, and I'm pretty sure like there was like just an evolution of it, like you mentioned, like guest hosts and stuff, because they had that like Raw. Did they call them GM guests? I think it was just like celebrity hosts.
Whatever
it was just like a host, and this was like after Vince did the McMahon's $1 Million Mania thing in like 2007 or 2008, and that was like cringy as hell, because he was trying to call people on live TV to basically say that they won like $1 million or whatever it was, and he couldn't like figure out the phone number. But I digress. But yeah, I agree with you on the Hugh Jackman thing. But Chris, what about you in terms of just general thoughts on celebrities in wrestling? What do you think about celebs?
I think as just like a hardcore wrestling fan, kind of cringy for the most part. I think, but just like David said, it's kind of like depends on who it is. If it's somebody who wants to generally be there, because like a lot of that like 2011 through 2015 celebrity stuff, it was just to like promote like a movie or a show or like a product, and it's like they were probably asked to do it, and they're like, I guess, like, yeah, it's like a certain audience, so whatever, so I'm gonna phone this in, and it was just a lot of that, so cringy. So I think if it's in that manner, I think it's pretty terrible. It obviously showed, and that's why it turned off a lot of viewers in the era. But like a Logan Paul or shit, I'll even throw number 45 in there. You know, Donald Trump. Like that was a pretty big celebrity at the time to doing a match. You know? And he, like they kind of mentioned in the documentary, not to go back to the documentary, but I mean Trump currently borrows a lot of these kind of like wrestling mannerisms, or maybe that's just who he is. That's why it was so natural for him to do the pro wrestling thing.
I think it's just who he is, and that's why he fits so well in in wrestling, because that's just who he is as a person.
You gotta shoot him dead, or whatever.
I mean, he was actually on 2 separate occasions. So Trump was in the Battle of the Billionaires, in like asterisk, because I don't think one of them was actually a billionaire at the time. And he was also, I think he was also a guest like host where he like owned Raw, quote unquote, for like a week or 2 or so. So he's been there a number of times, but
WrestleMania 4 was a Trump Plaza.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, he's been a fan since the 80s at least, and I mean, Linda McMahon was in his cabinet. She was in the Secretary of Small Business, I think, administration. She's probably just twiddling her thumbs and checking her emails. But
they compared Trump to Vince as far as people wise. There are a lot of similarities as far as the business side, and I guess
even the family side. Even the family side seems like, you know, approval from dad. Very insecure when it comes to that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
you know.
Very interesting.
But yeah, you mentioned some of like the guest stars during that era. I mean, it was a mixed bag, because like during that time there were some really good ones. Like I think we mentioned before this recording, Bob Barker, I thought was actually pretty entertaining. If we're talking about celebrities that can be used to elevate something, you know, like a segment or something. And this, the Bob Barker, they did like a Price is Right thing, and this was when Jericho was based. I think that was the best run of his career, was that 2008-9 Shawn Michaels Jericho feud that kind of lasted for a lot of that year. And this was 2009. So yeah, basically like 08 to 09 era. And he had like the Price is Right tag on like his bare chest, and then Bob Barker is telling him, you know, don't make me bend you over my knee and spank you or something like that. Like it was ridiculous. But that was fun. That's like somebody who I'm like, yes, I can enjoy like that kind of thing. And they're not completely involved completely like from the entire show, you know what I mean? Because some, like, there's another one, Al Sharpton. Like when I think wrestling, I don't think Al Sharpton, I'm sorry. As like a guest host. He's like a preacher, Baptist minister, radio talk show host, in case folks didn't know who he was. Like that seems kind of like weird to have. There was another one that, like I guess I did want to say like my thoughts on like celebrities in wrestling. I mean, like I said at the beginning, I guess is that I don't think wrestling could be where it is without that marriage of celebrity at the beginning, because it did take it to a whole new stratosphere. It's not like, guys chewing cigars in a smoke-filled back room, not paying their wrestlers in like some bingo hall. Now it's like a very high value, like it's taken more seriously now than it has ever been taken seriously in the past 70 years, or let's say century, if we're being honest. It's not hey, you kid, in the carnival crowd over here, I'll pay you $50 if you can flip me over or whatever.
$50.
Like, it's not that kind of thing.
You got it.
I guess 50 cents or whatever it was, a pack of peanuts.
Damn, 1924. Let's see, $50 could probably buy you a whole ass house. That'd be crazy.
Never showed up to school ever again.
Yeah.
I take a shot to the head for that money.
Yeah, where's my 50?
The first person with CTE.
Yeah. Patient zero. But yeah, there are a lot of good, I want to say celebrities. Like, they are also involved in matches, and there have been a lot throughout history. I did already mention kind of Cyndi Lauper being in Wendy Richter's corner, and we touched on Mr. T being a tag team partner of Hulk Hogan's in the first WrestleMania. So that. What's that? You met Mr. T? Where did you meet Mr. T, by the way?
He was at Aaron's Furniture. He was promoting something. I think he was like a spokesperson. They hired him to do like advertising for Aaron's Furniture at the Bricky.
He wasn't, like, promoting Hulk Hogan's beer.
Hell
American beer.
Nah, it was cool.
It was a furniture place?
Yeah, dude. I mean, black don't crack for real. He's like over 70 years old, and this man was in amazing shape. And he was awesome. He was so cool.
What'd you even talk to him about?
It was just brief? Small talk. It just super brief. Because I remember I was like in between. I was on my break, I think, and I was about to have a break, and somebody came in from the outside saying, "Hey, Mr. T's next door," or whatever, signing stuff. I was like, "What? Hell yeah! One-time opportunity. I'll have a client wait." I took a picture with him.
I was gonna say, I think you took a picture. Did you try and find something for him to sign?
He signed. He was just handing out these like errands, like pictures of him. He had like the knuckle thing, but it said like Aaron's on it or something like that. And it was that kind of a picture, and then he just had that signed. Pretty sweet.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that'd be awesome. You know what? Yeah, if you can find that picture, I think I'd like to share it for social media, just kind of like revolving around this episode. Yeah. So if you could, that'd be.
Clubber Lang is from Chicago.
Clubber Lang. Yeah, Mr. T in Rocky 3.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know that.
Yeah, man.
That's awesome. But yeah, so celebrities, a lot of involvement. We talked about, since the early 80s. And there have been a number of celebrities who have been involved in actual matches. And I feel like there has been some really, really good ones and some downright stinkers. Well, Chris, who do you feel like when you think of like a celebrity wrestling match? And we've actually had like a number in the past year. We had Johnny Knoxville in that Sami Zayn match.
That was
Stephen Amell, who was Green Arrow. He appeared in WWE and AEW. That's
what I wanted to bring up. Was the
he wrestled in the first All In.
Oh yeah. So you want, Chris? Let me ask you that question. I guess if you want to expand on it, who would be your what's a good wrestling celebrity match?
I mean, the only one that really came to mind was that the Green Arrow one, and then I guess, I mean, Mike Tyson wasn't necessarily like in the match himself; he was the referee. But I mean, Mike Tyson or Arnold Schwarzenegger was just hanging out like sideline, and then Triple H said something to him, and he like Arnold like sold those punches. Like it looked like he was hitting them. It was good.
Oh, I think that was a SmackDown in like 2000 or something.
Yeah.
He was like promoting Terminator 3. I don't remember what it was.
Was he the governor yet? Maybe not.
No,
I think
before that.
Yeah, I think he was in the governor like mid 2000s or something like that.
05, 06,
mid 2000s.
Yeah,
but yeah,
Green Arrow guy. I mean, he looked like a natural. I mean, he has an athletic ability, so I think he was pretty good.
I mean, and he's also like, you can tell that he's also a fan. Like I feel like I've seen him in like just like wrestling circles in general, like just taking pictures of him, like, oh wait, isn't that Stephen Amell? Didn't Arrow like end like a decade ago? But I mean, he's also in Heels.
Yeah,
and that's like a wrestling show that I'm pretty sure got canceled. But I've been meaning to watch that show, and that sounds awesome. I think it's on Stars or something like that. Did
Mickey Rourke do a guest appearance or no?
Did they? Yeah. Oh yeah. Remember WrestleMania 25? It was like when it was The Wrestler, I think, when he was doing the promotion for The Wrestler.
Oh yeah.
That was 2009. So that was WrestleMania 25, and I think he wanted Mickey Rourke wanted to do it, but I think his agents weren't too fond of it. And I think he might have like spoiled it early on that he was going to do it. And basically they were like, I don't think you can get a Golden Globe or Academy Award or whatever if you involve yourself in that match or with wrestling in general. So, which is such a bizarre thing because he was portraying a wrestler for that movie, and that's the movie that he was going to win an award for. I think he did win a Golden Globe for that. What was his name? Ram, right? That's his name in the movie.
Randy
you guys
the Ram.
Randy the Ram, yeah. And he goes like this.
Yeah.
That was actually a really good movie for folks who have never seen.
Ron Killing's in that movie. There's a couple wrestlers in that movie. Yeah, but R-Truth was in there.
But he ended up. I don't think he was. I think he just made an appearance in the match because I don't know if he actually did it because it was like a 3-on-3. It was like Jericho.
He had a spot
versus Steamboat. I think he did some spots, but I don't think he necessarily like was in the match. But I mean, that was a good like appearance, I guess. Like it was kind of similar to like Mike Tyson, where Mike Tyson was a referee. I think Mike Tyson actually had another match in like the late 2000s in WWE as like a tag team. I forgot who it was against, but that wasn't good. I remember that.
Oh, speaking of boxers, Money Mayweather against Big Show.
Oh yeah, that. If we're talking about like really good like celebrity involvement, that was a really like it had no right to be that good. Like
he said hit him. I think Big Show told him to really like knock him out.
He broke his nose. He actually broke his nose.
Yeah,
because this was what. So it was a series of things. So Big Show re-debuted because he was gone for a couple of years, and then he came back. He lost a bunch of weight.
Was that Goatee Big Show with the Jericho or no?
That was Jericho. I think for WrestleMania 24, he had like the beard, the goatee. Yeah, hold on, let me double check. So yeah, he just had like his traditional, goatee mustache combo thing. But yeah, I mean that match was actually really good. If you guys who are listening have not watched WrestleMania 24, actually that entire I think most of it, because I think there might have been a tag team match on there that I was not a fan of.
Was that Florida?
It was in Florida.
Okay.
That was the same WrestleMania where Ric Flair retired for the first time, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Before he retired like 2 or 3 more times.
Was that after the Undertaker HBK like the second match because that was 22-23, or am I tweaking?
No, you're messing it up. So Shawn Michaels was Shawn Vince was in Chicago. That's 22. 23. 23 was Batista and Undertaker for the World Heavyweight Championship.
Yeah.
And 24 was Undertaker versus Edge. That one I actually thought Edge was gonna win because that was like I like how close it was, like just the series of things that they did. I know I'm going off on a side tangent here, but like they had like the ring bell and all that kind of stuff, and it went to 3 like this close. Like it was just a really good match. But
John Cena HBK was there?
Was that a WrestleMania? Was 23. That was WrestleMania 23.
Okay.
Because that was when Triple H tore his quad, and that was originally going to be the match because they were basically going to do a sequel to their WrestleMania 22 match.
Yeah.
But yeah,
saved us.
What's that?
Said saved us.
Yeah, and that honestly, Shawn Michaels, John Cena was much better. The much better match, and then they had that amazing 1 hour Iron Man match like a week or two later in April. But yeah, okay, so this is what I thought. Yeah, this was mostly a great match card at WrestleMania 24, with the exception of another celebrity-ish match. It was the Playboy Bunny Mania Lumberjill match, and Snoop Dogg was in it, and I'm cool with that. And Snoop Dogg, I feel like he's one of those celebrities that if there was like a tier list of like trash is here and then Hall of Fame is here, I'd put Snoop Dogg in the Hall of Fame tier area.
Just because of spot alone, dude.
I mean, just year? Or 2 years ago, I think.
2 years ago, yeah.
Yeah, when he basically did an audible. I mean, I guess this is rolled into the celebrity thing, calling an audible after Shane tears both his quads too. Like, is this like a genetic thing for like a family?
That's
like,
pretty insane.
He did what did he do? He did like a leapfrog, and then he teared both his quads, and then like they're looking at each other like, oh crap, like what should we do now? And then Snoop Dogg, I think like he takes off his glasses. I mean he looks like you could probably like blow some wind and he'll fly away, but like he did like the weakest ass people's elbow,
super slow. It just looked like it was like slow motion, like just the hop over, like, and then he went. That shit was so
but that saved it from being like super embarrassing, because can you imagine if they didn't know what to do and they had no follow up? Like, what are you supposed to do? Like, some guy's gonna come with like a giant broom and just sweep them out and just be like, all right, next match. Like, you have to do something to acknowledge it. Yeah. So like for Snoop Dogg to think on his feet and then they just went with it. Perfect. Like, that's why Snoop Dogg is like the VIP when it comes to WWE celebrities. I mean, not only that, I mean, obviously he's is he cousins or uncles with Sasha or Mercedes Moné? And I think he also helped her with that theme song, if I'm not mistaken, her WWE one.
He helped her. I think she went to that Mania because of him.
Oh yeah?
Like long-term story, yeah.
Long-term storytelling. But yeah, like the WrestleMania 24, Snoop Dogg was great, but that was like, Playboy Playmates. It was like Beth Phoenix, Melina versus Maria and Ashley Massaro with Snoop Dogg. I mean, like, hey, eye candy, but like if we're talking about an actual match, not great. But the Floyd match, yeah, like I was saying, if people should rewatch that if they haven't seen it in a while, because like I said, it had no right to be that good. And Floyd Mayweather working that match like a wrestling match, I mean, I think WWE wanted him, like, treated him like a face, which I thought was ridiculous. And they did the same thing for Logan Paul too. But Floyd Mayweather during that match basically kind of went like heel mid-match, and he was kind of like feeding into the crowd. So again, props to Floyd Mayweather for one, putting on a really good match, and then also like listening to the crowd and knowing that they want to boo him, so he's going to lean into that. And speaking of, I just mentioned Logan Paul, but I mean, Yeah, I mean he's technically a celebrity, and now I guess he's a wrestler. Like he's part of the roster, and guys on the roster obviously feel a certain way about it. But I mean, you gotta give him his flowers. I can't. I think he's an a-hole in certain instances, but I can't. I can separate that from like his actual in-ring ability, which it's still kind of mind-blowing how good he is in such a short amount of time. And I don't know what I don't know if it's because he has like because he was like a YouTuber, and I guess using that like that charisma or building up that kind of like I don't know, understanding how to work a crowd or responding to that kind of stuff. Yeah. Yes. Was that like
He was in
in the forest?
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's not say the word.
The forest in Japan.
Yeah. You're gonna give us some demonetization alphabet soup. We just use a couple of words in a row. But yeah, like that, with the exception of whatever hat he was wearing in that era. I mean, again, he was young and dumb, and I mean, I guess he's older and still a little dumb. But you know, I think that besides the point, like he's really talented as a wrestler, and I feel like he feels a little bad that he doesn't understand why people don't like him. I think there's just kind of a disconnect there. Like he's not self-aware of his personality to some degree. But yeah, Logan Paul, most recent example. Another one, Bad Bunny. Like Bad Bunny Bad Bunny has no reason to be that good either. Like that's insane. Like he's like a super popular, I mean, I'm going to say pop star or whatever you want to call him, but I mean, he's like hundreds of millions of streams every month, like on Spotify and Apple Music, and then this guy's doing wrestling matches, like at a street fight like wrestling match at PLE. Like that's wild. Like someone of that stature, like I feel like the assumption is like it's beneath people like that, right? But this guy is like he's like 100% into it, and he's done how many matches, David? 2.
He did too. He also showed up when we went to Raw.
Yeah. Right. Right. But I think he did a tag match before, right?
He did a tag match
with John Morrison, I think.
I don't remember.
But yeah, another example of a really good celebrity.
Oh,
yeah.
I got one. Speaking of music artists, was it Action Jackson? Bronson?
Action Bronson, AEW.
Yeah. He wrestled the whole match, didn't he?
Yeah, Bronson did well. I'm over here only thinking about WWE. Yeah, Action Bronson, AEW with Hook.
Oh, I was gonna say Action Jackson. I think is a Mad TV skit with Bubbles.
Yeah, But Bronson, yeah. I was gonna say Jelly Roll. I was like the other overweight tattooed white guy, but
dude, Bronson's just burly, dude.
No, he was good though.
He was Bridge.
Yeah. Who's the football player in like WrestleMania 10 or 13?
11.
Lawrence Taylor.
Lawrence Taylor. The Fridge
match, right?
Fridge. He was in the main event of WrestleMania 11.
He wrestled Bigelow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think people look down on it because that was the main event of WrestleMania 11, and like this was like peak WWE or F at the time was financially had problems and their ratings weren't great. So WrestleMania 11, I think, is probably a lot of people's least favorite WrestleMania. But I mean, from what I remember, watching clips of it, I thought that he did a good job. I mean, it's not like he decided to put himself in the main event. At least I don't think that was like in his contract or whatever. But what you gonna do? Another one, Butterbean, technically a celebrity. And what, like, at one point, wasn't he like so for people to not remember, WWE actually hosted a real, was it a fight or is it a boxing match? Was it a boxing match that they were trying to do? I don't remember.
It was both.
It was like MMA.
No, because they had the gloves. So they were boxing.
Oh, and then who was it? Bart Gunn?
Yeah.
Basically, it's like, oh yeah, he's pretty good. Let's put him up against Butterbean, who was like...
No, Bart Gunn won. The Brawl for All was a tournament.
He won the Brawl for All, but then his prize
was an
is to fight Butterbean. So it's like, you're in the Mortal Kombat tournament, you just win the local tournament, and then your prize is to fight Goro. Yeah, because like Butterbean was like 41-1, and most of those 41 wins was by knockout. So you're gonna put this guy who was like a pretty good fighter with a guy who was like a legit like monster boxer, and then put it on pay-per-view. Like, that was wild. But I mean, a good celebrity in the 90s, we already mentioned Mike Tyson.
Drew Carey in the Rumble.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Hall of Fame.
That was good.
That actually, I think, is a case of like using just the right amount of celebrity, because it's not like he won the World Heavyweight Championship like
oh shit, David Arquette.
David Arquette.
Damn, that's some
Drew Carey was like, he was in the Rumble, right? And then and then he saw Kane, and then I think he just eliminated himself. See, like that, like that's like, if you're good, like, and when I mean by the right amount of celebrity, I mean for like people like a Drew Carey, because like Logan Paul is different, and like Mike Tyson, or people who are actually fighters, are different. I treat them differently than like a Drew Carey who just like came off the Drew Carey show, and you're telling me he's gonna go in the Rumble and maybe win the whole thing. Like, talk about a waste of space. But I mean, I think that the joke that he just saw him and then eliminated himself, that's funny. That's how you can use someone like a Drew Carey. I'm trying to think who else in WCW was
Rodzilla.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Can't forget.
I forgot
him.
about that. Yeah, exactly.
Rodzilla, baby.
He was very important in WCW's popularity. Or at least I think it was at the point where it was like riding the lightning, and he jumped on it, and kind of like, I don't know if it elevated WCW, but it definitely I mean, it helped. I would say, like, it didn't hurt.
It did, because basketball was the coolest thing in the world when the Bulls were on top.
That's true.
Yeah, that's true. It was like the marriage of the two coolest things at the time, with WO and then the Bulls.
Chicago Bulls.
To wear that shirt was like, you're a fucking cool kid.
Yeah. Scottie Pippen. Yeah. I remember when we were. Do you remember in Shelburne Park? I don't know if that was a girl or a guy who was playing with us, but
yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, they were talking about, I think we were playing basketball or something, and they were talking about like, oh, I'll be Scottie Pippen and you can be, I don't know,
Michael Jordan.
Yeah. That just triggered that memory. But yeah, Rodzilla. I mean, that guy, talk about
RoboCop.
like, oh yeah. What year was RoboCop? Was that like early 90s? That was like when WCW was crap, right? Like early, like 91, 92. I mean, I don't think it helped. I think that was interesting. I mean, is it a celebrity? I guess. I mean, it's like a character. I mean, like if we're talking about celebrities, I'm not gonna be like, oh yeah, Chucky. Like Chucky's a great.
You mean RoboCop wasn't playing as himself?
Yeah, exactly. The guy, he drives a real car and pays bills. After the
while we're at it, Leatherface on AEW.
Oh yeah.
When was that?
For that Leatherface belt championship that Jeff Jarrett won. I forget what the actual belt was called, but it was like this like promo match, I think, for it's either a TV show or a movie. They had this Texas death match thing, and then Leatherface came out for like a second. It was just like almost like a horror house or whatever that they kind of navigated through, which was also kind of a match, and it was a bunch of weird spots.
So would you say it was a good match?
I was entertained.
Do you think that was a good use of? Let's consider that as a celebrity because it's like a character who isn't there involved in wrestling. So would you say that's a good use of?
I would say so.
Celebrity.
I mean, if you're gonna use a horror icon character, I think that would probably be the best way you would use something like that. Was fine with. Still champ, technically.
Where'd the belt go?
I don't know. Probably on his
just
mantle.
Went. Don't ask for it to come back.
I mean, hey, I'm not trying to knock on wood, trying to bring back any more titles. Thankfully, they retired the FTW. That's one less title to worry about in the freaking show. Because when I saw that, I'm like, oh, thank you, Jesus. Someone heard my prayers. We don't need that many belts.
No, they're gonna bring another belt.
Oh, watch! They're gonna have the 24/7 title.
The junior heavyweights. They gotta make the division.
Light heavyweight, bring it back. Yeah. No, thank you. But yeah, I mean, like you said, with I mean, a horror character like that. I mean, for me personally, I just don't like. I don't know, that kind of thing. I mean, I guess we also have had like Ozzy Osbourne and the Osbournes. I thought that with Ozzy and them, like they felt like I don't necessarily know. I didn't feel like they wanted to be there. Like you can tell some people who are involved are like collecting a paycheck.
No.
Like, who is the guy? Is it in Superbad? What
Jonah
was the
Hill?
Guy? No.
Oh, another Snoop Dogg moment. He did a splash in AEW from like the top rope.
Snoop Dogg?
Yeah.
When was he in AEW?
Like season 1.
Damn. I mean, that's a guy who just likes wrestling, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, Jeremy Piven. He was the guy. Oh, that was Entourage. I think he was promoting. He is the guy who called SummerSlam Super Slam. That was Jeremy Piven. Yeah, that was 2009. Yeah, that wasn't that great of a year.
That was a donkey of 2009.
Yeah.
Was Jason Bateman? Slam. Was Jason Bateman at any point like a
yes, he was, but I don't know if he was a host. I think he was a. Well, I mean, sometimes they just have like guest appearances. I mean, Johnny Knoxville. Let's see, he was a number of times. I forgot Snooki had her own freaking tag team match. I forgot about that. That wasn't really good. That's another one who I felt like was there just to collect a paycheck was Snooki.
I feel like it either needs to be two things specifically. It either needs to be somebody who like understands the product and is potentially has some kind of a background in that kind of stuff, and they're a celebrity, like, so be it a fighter or some kind of an athlete or something like that, or it's some crazy outlandish thing like Leatherface or Pee-wee Herman, like Pee-wee Herman's ass showing up.
They did Grumpy the Cat one week.
Oh yeah. Oh my god, I forgot about that. Rest in peace.
And Schwarzenegger actually and Joe Manganiello, they actually were like a duo guest host in March 2014. Betty White, oh, I forgot. Betty White was a really good one. Like that was a good use of her. Because it's Betty White, so it feels like fish out of water scenario. Because you're like, oh, wholesome Betty White, but then she goes on the mic and she's like, I'm gonna kick your ass or something like that. So like just those kinds of moments, you know. And it was sprinkled in. It's not like she was like used throughout the entire show. I'm fine with that. Oh yeah, they had Jared Fogle.
Oh my god!
Oh, I forgot about Jared being
oh no,
as a celebrity guest host. That was in 2012.
Oh man.
I think he was actually promoting Subway then before the whole cheese pizza scandal.
Yeah.
I almost feel like there was like allegations already at that time. It was just like nothing was concrete.
Oh, maybe. But it wasn't as public. I think you're right. I think there were like rumblings about it, but that wasn't a great one. Oh, another terrible one. The Three Stooges reboot.
Oh no.
They had like those new like actors who were basically doing the new version of Three Stooges.
Was it Will Sasso Curly? Or no?
No, that was just his. Oh wait, yes he was. Yes he was. He was Curly. Yes he was. That's wild. But yeah, that was like. Why did they have to come in character? You know, like why not just come as themselves? I don't know.
The Muppet. Will Sasso ever? He's like a huge wrestling fan. Was he ever a celebrity guest or something?
In WCW. I think late WCW.
Really?
Yeah, late WCW, and then obviously the Three Stooges one in 2012.
You heard his Macho Man impression?
I remember. I think I watched like a number of videos where I just saw him do his impressions. He does a pretty good Steve Austin impression. I think he did. Didn't he do like some sketches on Man TV as Steve?
You ever hear the joke Scott Hall had on Will Sasso?
No.
He like, Sasso, you're so fat you do coke and eat.
Rest in peace, Scott Hall. His best impression is Jesse Ventura, bar none. The body.
Oh yeah.
God,
if I wasn't like watching him and I have like a tab open, I would think that like they were interviewing.
Dude, down to the freaking like
Ventura.
tick head nod he does, where he's like talking. This is freaking amazing.
Yep.
Navy SEAL. Like, he was just so damn good with that shit, dude.
They had Shatner one time too. Yeah, this was like the whole.
Yeah, Shatner was one of those guys that, you know, he's like, just give me the damn paycheck. Don't ask me about Star Trek. What am I doing? You probably called it WWF. Like that.
Yep. He's like, who's here? Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, like that was probably William Shatner.
He got there. It's like, where's Hogan?
Right, exactly. Literally.
What do you do? Where's Andre the Giant? Oh, he's been dead 20 years. But yeah, I mean, I think we can wrap up here. Oh, I forgot about Charlie Sheen. Via Skype. How embarrassing.
Charlie Sheen?
Via Skype, though.
Winning.
He did it.
I gotta admit, I did have that poster, dude. I had that poster. Yep. I bought it from Spencer's when all that crazy tiger blood, baby.
That tiger blood.
That was
Bring
crazy.
Back the meme.
What a wild time. Weird ass mid 2010s.
Oh man. That was the millennial teen culture then. Oh, you know what? Jon Stewart was actually pretty good too. I'll say that before we wrap up.
Oh yeah, he did cost Cena.
Yeah, that's what people liked about him, that he got Cena the match. And then the day after
you look at that one. Yeah.
He apologized and then took a attitude adjustment, which good on him. And honestly, he also like I can't tell if he's like a wrestling fan or not, but like based on his appearances and what he did, it felt like he was. And he's also just like a natural interacting and like trying, like it doesn't look like he's reading off a card or whatever, and you know he's very good at what he did.
The one he was doing that. Before we actually wrap up, was the he was an SNL guy, I think. He was like heavy into wrestling, and he was all kayfabe with like the neck brace and stuff. What was that guy's name? You know what I'm talking
Michael
about?
Che and Colin Jost? No.
Oh,
you're talking
Kaufman?
About Andy Kaufman.
Yeah.
Lawler?
Yep, exactly.
I guess that would be one of the first celebrity wrestling matches, right?
Yeah,
probably close to it.
I mean, that was a really good one too. I mean, that guy. I mean, trying to like talk about kayfabe. Yeah, I mean, he basically made like a character study of like that whole like feud. Like he sold everything and took everything seriously. Or I feel like didn't he, at one point like, oh, he's trying to like get a woman in the crowd to like pin her or something like that, just so he says he could. I don't know, but yeah, I mean, like him as a character, and like just the ability to like be a heel, like because like that had like character study and like an actual build to it. You know, it wasn't just like a one-off. Like he really lived the gimmick. So to speak, and during that time. So that's a really good example. But I think we can all agree that celebrity in WWE, I mean, I feel like it's like peanut butter and jelly. Like it's like a natural thing for wrestling in its current form. I mean, I'm going to say modern, and even a hint of like the classic. It's like I'm gonna say like 80s and 70s is still, I would consider classic, and modern, let's say the past 25 years or 30 years or so. I mean, like celebrities in wrestling is like I said, peanut butter and jelly. You know, it's like water, and I was gonna say oil, but that doesn't work.
Opposites.
Yeah. It just fits together well, and it has to be done, I think we all agree, appropriately.
Yeah, water and oil.
It's like water and oil, or oil and fire, a grease fire.
Run it in sand.
It just has to be done well, and when you do it well, then it really works. It can really elevate a story. It can really hype something up more than what it was before, as long as they're invested in it. And yeah, I'd like to personally hope to see more of Bad Bunny matches in the future, because I feel like he has another calling after he's done writing music as an actual wrestler. But we'll see. Hopefully, we'll get another match in the not too distant future. But that's a wrap for this episode of the Chi-Town Shoot Podcast. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, rate us, and leave your feedback. Tune in next time for more wrestling madness. Until then, keep marking out.